Welcome to Pacific Praise this morning. It's my privilege to introduce to you Makerita Siaosi, the program manager at A Girl Called Hope. We'll get into that later on. Makerita, what village are you associated with and where do you come from?
Talofa Lavarima, thanks for this opportunity. I am from Whanelata in Letongo in Upolu and Salailua in Savai. I was born in Samoa and my parents moved to New Zealand for education opportunities for myself and work opportunities for them both.
What was that like for you, for being born in Samoa? Do you have much of a memory over there?
Yeah, my memories of Samoa before we came here, I don't have any because we came and I was only 3 years old here. But I do remember going back very often with my father to visit his parents. And coming to New Zealand, like most immigrant families of the 1970s, our life revolved around Ainga and Lotu, family and church. And those in church became our village people, yeah, and we did life together. So when we arrived, we lived with my dad's sister and husband and their young family in Papatoetoe. They were the trailblazers of our Ainga. They really established us in New Zealand. And my late Uncle Whāwhua used to love telling us the story of how, as a little girl, I was looking out the window onto the street, and then all of a sudden I ran and I heard in the cupboard, and then I was screaming, "Oh, le pālangi, le pālangi!" And I was really scared of seeing white people. So here we were, and there's me, really scared of white people and the pālangi, and yet it's this pālangi society and opportunities that we came here to pursue. Yeah, so it's a funny story of what it was like for me coming here as a 3-year-old, and I grew up being reminded constantly about how my parents gave up their homeland for the sake of my education, and I've watched my parents work really hard in labouring jobs when to send money back to Samoa. But both of them were really well-respected teachers back in Samoa, and they couldn't teach here, of course, because they needed the New Zealand qualifications. So, there was a bit of responsibility that was put onto me as a child, and expectations of me to get an education, because everyone else had given up being a happy life in Samoa for that. But I remember there was constant activity in our house growing up, and a lot of it centered around church, and what I always called the 3 A's, Awhaipese, Aotearoa, and Onga Sasa, which is choir, youth group, and Sunday school. And Sunday school was always about White Sunday. And so, our activity was always around church. Our home was always filled with relatives, some at high school, most working, and we all went to church as much as we could for whatever activities were happening. So I've got a lot of happy memories from childhood of that busyness, and I really cherish those. I consider it blessed to have grown up in a very vibrant, active environment. There was always something going on. As a family, we had our fair share of family dramas and of violence, which was more often than not fueled by alcohol. Dad and my uncles, they loved to party. They loved to drink, but they also loved to fight. I was just telling friends last week about when I first learned how to drive, and Dad and my uncles always loved going to the pub on a Friday night, heading into the weekend, and so they had me drop them off, but then they'd ring home as to when I needed to come, and when I arrived at the pub, I would park outside and have to wait, and I never knew how long that would take. But what I would wait for is the sound of smashing glass, and okay, they're on their way out now because they're having their bust up, and then they'll head out. So yeah, I've got a lot of memories of childhood being very missed. Yeah. So all those awesome memories include learning how to mix at age 8, learning how to mix rum and coke. I used to do that for them, and I used to think it was so cool because it was like following a recipe. I also have memories that include knowing all the words to songs like Baby Blue, which a lot of people might not even know, and Green, Green Grass of Home, because those were the party songs they used to love playing, and recognising the sound of the first glass breaking before that full-on fight. Yeah, so I had a very colourful childhood, but I loved it. I loved that. Looking back now, it was scary with the violence and the alcohol, but the biggest thing was family, and we were together, and we had lots of family around. So I loved that childhood. That it was always so active and full of people, and so yeah, I really appreciate that.
Fantastic. Look,